Wow, it's been like 7 months, and that is a really, really long time. I've done some reactions for the channel. I've done a couple of live streams, but you know what? I missed It's All Fun and Games so much that I wanted to make this episode into like a 2-part episode. I wanted to dig into something that was such a huge influence on me, on my childhood, something that I enjoyed so much growing up that I still enjoy today, but I want to specifically focus in on the time period that means the most to me. This is going to be all about nostalgia, you know, like most of my solo videos are. I like the House of the Dead when I brought Nick and Nate along on that journey with me. But this one, I'm not sure how it's going to go. I just want to jump into it and have a really good time. And we're going to be talking about the first generation of Pokemon. Introduced to Pokemon by my stepmom's brother, who just so happened to be right around the same age as me, and he was like the Nintendo guru. He was always the guy to let me know what was going on in the Nintendo world. So when he told me he had discovered the greatest game he had ever played, something that he sucked most of his summer into at that point, I was ready to see what was going on with it. So he handed me that big, humongous Game Boy. The game started and he just left me alone with it. I think he had some chores to go do and I was hanging out at his house, and so I just started playing around with it, and he had set me up on Pokemon Blue. What I wasn't aware of is that starting a new game and saving your new game will then delete the game that the other person had been playing this entire time. His Pokedex was at like 90 out of the 151. He had all of the badges, he had beaten all of the gym leaders, and he was now just on a mission with a link cable and multiple friends who had other versions of the game, like the red version that I just showed in the beginning of the video, to try and collect all 151, and I just blew it. I completely deleted everything that he had been working on, and yes, he did try to assassinate me on multiple occasions. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't. Anyway, he's still not over it. I don't blame him, but that was my introduction to Pokemon. The games were just so awesome with their storytelling, so fun to collect those monsters, and not only that, it was my first introduction to the JRPG style of games, and I'm still a huge fan of those now. I mean, the list goes on and on of the games that I've since grown to love in that style of game. But Pokemon was there to open the door. I mean, it wasn't overcomplicated. It could be super technical if you wanted it to be, but it didn't have to be that for you. You didn't have to collect every single Pokemon to feel like, you know, you had really accomplished a lot in the game. The battling, the trading, it was just one of those games that you could just go back to over and over and over again. And with the community involvement, with being a game that encouraged you to get that link cable, hang out with your friends and trade Pokemon because of the evolutions, because the games, you know, Blue and Red had certain Pokemon that you couldn't get on either or. You had to interact with someone else who had the opposite color game than you did. It was just really fun and something that was really rare for the time. I can't really remember another regular Game Boy game that encouraged people to interact that much. So pretty interesting to see that it would evolve into something like Pokemon Go, which brought back a lot of nostalgia for people when it comes to Pokemon. But I really enjoyed Red and Blue, and I was a big fan of exploiting the missing no glitch. There's people out there that definitely know what that is. And you know, I was always obsessed with catching Mew. Mew was one of those characters that I believe you had to go to like a special event and they would put it on your game for you, or something like that. There was some way that you had to do it where you couldn't just catch them in the game, or you could cheat. You could use that Game Shark. That was just one of those characters that I loved. Mew still to this day is my all-time favorite Pokemon. And guess what? I got him.
So I bought a special edition Game Boy Color from a guy offline, and he just gave me the red version with the Game Boy Color. So I started it up in Pokemon Stadium, and I checked the party to see what was in there, and lo and behold, Mew. The first time on the original games that I've ever had Mew. I was super pumped. I just wanted to throw him into a battle real quick and see him on Pokemon Stadium. Just really cool surprise that he was on there.
So I had been playing the Pokemon game for quite a while and had become completely obsessed with it and just immersed in the lore and legacy of Pokemon and all the cool stuff that the game had taught me, and playing with my friends and just being involved in a social phenomenon, a tidal wave of entertainment that had taken over the children of the West. And then I had a neighbor that lived down the street named Cameron who told me about Pokemon cards. Now, Pokemon cards were not readily available everywhere that I would go to the store, and being 9 or 10 years old at the time, I wasn't really spending a lot of money and going to the store, and my parents didn't just hand over cash. It just didn't work out that way for me. So I was kind of not interested in Pokemon. You could say I was a little bit of an elitist to the game, and I was kind of a hater when it came to the trading card game. But my friend Cameron, he really wanted me to get into it. Him and his brother Trevor had really amassed quite a collection, as they would travel an hour and 30 minutes from the rural town that I grew up in to a city nearby to go to a Books A Million store where they actually had Pokemon League tournaments, and they also had the trading card booster packs and starter decks available, something that I'd never really seen. I at that point was reliant on my friends who would hook me up. There were several friends that I had that really wanted me to get in the game, and they would just hook me up with cards. So super grateful for that invite into the Pokemon community, because let me tell you, I got super into the cards. Also got into the Pokemon trading card game on the Game Boy. Again, another awesome Game Boy game that came out of the Pokemon experience at that time. And it was really, really fun. It taught me a lot about the game, how to play it, and really understand everything going on with the cards. And there was also Pokemon Pinball, which was a super fun game at the time. It was pretty fantastic. Pokemon cards just continued to become a staple for the community, surpassing the game at one point, even during the time of the release of the basic set, the jungle set, and the fossil set. It became huge money. And at the time, eBay was a pretty new thing. A lot of people were selling Beanie Babies and making a lot of money. But right around the time that Pokemon cards became so huge, Beanie Babies were kind of losing their value. And so people that were big into the eBay culture, as it was becoming a powerhouse on the internet, saw that Pokemon cards were really rising in value, and a lot of those people that were collecting Beanie Babies were a little bit older and did not understand anything about Pokemon. So a friend of mine, he decided that he wanted to go to this store in our town, Hartley's Furniture Store. The owner of the store, he had a little PC repair business on the side inside of the furniture store. Well, we went in there one day because my friend David wanted to get into the PC repair business. He was a bit of a tech nerd at the time, and he wanted to see if he could get an apprenticeship or some kind of employment at the furniture store that also doubled as a computer repair store. But little did we know, Chris Hartley, Roger's wife, was huge on eBay and big on selling Beanie Babies, and had been one of those people that noticed Pokemon cards were taking over eBay, that you could make much more money out of these cards than you could selling Beanie Babies anymore. And she just had no clue what was going on with them. And with the market value on some of these cards, you really were making an investment. So in walks this 10-year-old with a Pokemon hat on, I believe, And this 18-year-old is begging for a job, you know, asking if there's any opportunities available. All the while, I'm just browsing, noticing, hey, they got some Pokemon cards in here. What are they doing with Pokemon cards in a furniture store? And I started naming them off, and oh, this one's a great one. And my knowledge that I gained from my friend Cameron and my good friend Will was valuable to this lady. She noticed it. She said, hey, here's a kid. He knows what's going on with this. And she offered me a job. She offered me a job in this shop that was selling Pokemon cards, and it was, you know, selling computer repair stuff and furniture. So I said, sure. But then we got down to the brass tacks of the situation. Of course, my parents had to be on board, and they couldn't give me money. I was 10 years old. I mean, it would be illegal at the time to pay me in money, so they worked out a deal. You know, I didn't have a lot growing up, especially at that point. So that's a reason why kind of Pokemon cards were a little bit intimidating to me, because I just couldn't go out and buy them. My parents weren't going to give me the money for that. They didn't have it. And I didn't really have any access to anywhere to buy them. But now I found a store, and this lady's willing to give me cards to just tell her which ones are good and help her price them and help open packs and put them on eBay. So of course my parents were glad to let me do that. I was so excited for the opportunity, and I don't know if Chris would ever watch this, but man, what an opportunity for me as a kid, and that was so awesome. It really made a large chunk of my childhood, and I really appreciate you for giving me that opportunity, because there I was, 10 years old, entire packs, boxes of booster packs, hundreds of packs, busting them open. It was just so fun. There was nothing like busting into a pack of cards and not knowing what was going to be there. So all of that experience was so fun and just adrenaline laced. There's nothing like opening up a pack of cards when you're looking for something and you're really excited about what could be in there. Cataloging them, putting them in sleeves, putting them on eBay, and doubles. And sometimes we would just get really good cards, and that would be my payment for the day. She would give me great cards. So all the Japanese cards that hadn't been released yet, the Team Rocket editions, the gym leaders, all of that stuff. I was on the cutting edge of everything. So you could say in 3rd and 4th grade, I was the man. I was the Pokemon master, and everybody knew it. All of a sudden, this place, Hartley's Furniture Store, they could hardly move a couch out of there. Nobody wanted the furniture, but you had hundreds and hundreds of kids showing up to this place to buy Pokemon cards, and then they started their own Pokemon League. It got out of control. I mean, it was really an awesome thing, because in this small town, there just wasn't anything for us to do. And then all of a sudden, bang, out of nowhere, the Pokemon game was on lock in this little town in southwestern Virginia. So I was really blessed. You know, I got an insane amount of cards, and like I said, there was nothing like just going through those packs, pulling out stuff, and out of the hundreds upon hundreds, probably thousands upon thousands of packs that I opened back then, I did not get a single Charizard while opening packs at work in that store. And that'll go to tell you how freaking rare those things were at the time. Just a super good experience, and something that I will always remember for my entire life, working at Hartley's and getting paid in Pokemon cards and just having a blast. What a great way to enjoy that whole time. I'm going into work every day at Hartley's, and I'm looking over on the shelf, and they have, as if it were up on this magnificent pedestal, the Pokemon Stadium bundle pack with Nintendo 64. Now this comes with the expansion pack to play the Game Boy games on. It has Pokemon Stadium and the Nintendo 64, which I did not have. I had a PlayStation 1 at the time, which was a wonderful system, but it didn't have the Pokemon stuff that I was just dying to be able to play. And it was expensive. I mean, it was like $250 or something like that. I mean, it was a ridiculous amount for me at the time. There was no way I could afford it. And in my area, a lot of people didn't have the money to buy it. So it just sat there. And it sat there. And I kept looking. And looking, and Chris Hartley noticed that I really, really wanted that. And I just wanted to be able to play Pokemon Stadium. And it came with a card. it had a special edition Polygon card that you could only get if you bought the Pokemon Stadium bundle pack with the 64. And as it sat there, the value of the Nintendo 64 started going down, and the value of the card inside of the bundle started going up. And so my parents and Chris made a deal. They would pay the difference if we bought the bundle pack and traded the card in on the value of the purchase. So I got the Nintendo 64 Pokemon Stadium bundle pack for, about $50, which was a huge markdown at the time. And, that was so awesome. Pokemon Stadium is one of my favorite games, and it was such a huge addition to what was going on with Pokemon at the time. And then I can't forget the awesome games that were there on the 64 that were for Pokemon. Pokemon Puzzle League, Pokemon Snap. I didn't really get to play Hey You Pikachu. I'm not really sure how good that game was, but those two, Pokemon Puzzle League and Pokemon Snap, were so awesome. So what a great time for Pokemon with the Nintendo 64. And how could we ever go on with this conversation without talking about the TV show? The Pokemon TV show was great. It really was. It made you connect with the Pokemon world just a little bit more. It seems like everything that spun off of the Pokemon video game was just gold. Every single bit of it. I'm sure that there's some stuff, that's not really gold, like the Pokemon Burger King cards that were in the little plastic case. It's not gold, okay? Thought it was gold. Really thought it was gold. But it's not gold. This series that came out that supported Pokemon was just really fun. I really enjoyed it. I loved Ash, Brock, Misty. All of the Pokemon and all the characters involved really made the world of Pokemon just easier to get into, easier to understand, and hilarious in a lot of circumstance. It really put a face to Team Rocket that was just more enjoyable, I think, and made you kind of understand that whole situation with them a little bit better. They're so funny. I always enjoyed, Meowth. I thought Meowth was the coolest member of Team Rocket. And Jesse and James, not so much. And then the Pokemon movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back. Holy crap. Then there you go again with the Pokemon cards. I got a bunch of those special edition Pokemon cards that came out when you went to the movie. Mewtwo was just one of those ultimate creatures. It was like once you got to him after beating the Elite Four and you were able to go into the cave and capture him, you felt like he was like a secret character you weren't even supposed to get to. What an awesome little situation that they built with him. The why am I here? How do I belong? So many lessons that were taught to us as kids through Pokemon that just are really heavy if you sit down and think about it. I know you cried. I know you cried when Ash got turned stone. I know you did. Your tears floated to him and revived him too, just like mine did. We believed. And I just recently watched the Netflix revamped version of Mewtwo Strikes Back, and it was awesome. I think they did a great job, and I cried again when Pikachu was crying out to bring Ash back. I'm sure you did too. Just such a cool moment. And, since we're just being transparent here, when we're being true to everything that's going on, you better believe that little 10-year-old me was jamming out to that Pokemon the First Movie album. I seriously was. Pokemon was a huge part of my childhood. It's still something that I enjoy to this very day. I've got a collection of cards still. I've got several of the games still. What did Pokemon mean to you? What does Pokemon still mean to you? Share some of your favorite memories. And I'm also going to be going around. There's going to be a part 2 to this. That's going to be the second generation. And we'll have a little bit more fun with that as well. But that wraps it up for me here today. Thank you for hearing me out and letting me reminisce about the first generation of Pokemon and how much I really enjoyed the games, the cards, the shows, the movies, and everything that went along with it. Again, if you have any memories that you'd like to share, please do that. Let's talk about it. I want to hear about your experiences too. So it was super fun to share mine. Until next time, this was all fun and games with Chad Bartlett, first generation of Pokemon Edition. I'm out.